Imagine a place of joy, laughter, and sweet indulgence. Now, imagine that same place harboring a secret so dark, so unspeakable, it would chill you to the bone. Beneath the vibrant facade of a bustling Viennese ice cream parlor, a nightmare was brewing. This isn't a fairy tale. It's the true story of obsession, deception, and the chilling transformation of an ordinary businesswoman into one of Austria's most notorious killers, the ice cream killer. Get ready, because the scoop on this case is anything but sweet. The picturesque city of Vienna, Austria, a place renowned for its imperial history, its vibrant cafe culture, and its stunning architecture. It was here, amidst the charming streets and elegant buildings, that Estibaliz Carranza sought to carve out her own slice of the European dream. Born in Mexico City in 1978, Esti, as she was known to friends, had an international background, holding both Spanish and Mexican citizenship. She moved to Europe, eventually settling in Vienna, where she seemingly embraced the entrepreneurial spirit. She established Schleckeria, her very own ice cream parlor located on the street known as Meidlinger Hauptstrasse. On the surface, Schleckeria was a success. It was a well-regarded establishment, known for its delicious flavors and welcoming atmosphere. Esti herself was often seen behind the counter, a seemingly friendly and engaging proprietor, always ready with a smile for her customers. She was, by all accounts, an attractive woman with a charismatic demeanor that drew people to her. The image she projected was one of success and normalcy. She ran a business, she interacted with the public, and she appeared to be living a perfectly conventional life. Yet beneath this carefully constructed exterior, Esti harbored a tumultuous personal life, a stark contrast to the sugary sweetness of her professional facade. Her relationships were complicated, marked by intense passions and deep-seated frustrations. These underlying tensions, though invisible to her customers, were slowly beginning to fester, creating a dangerous psychological landscape within her. The pressure of maintaining her business, coupled with the escalating conflicts in her romantic endeavors, started to chip away at her composure. No one who bought a double scoop of stracciatella or a refreshing lemon sorbet from her could have possibly imagined the dark current swirling beneath the surface of this seemingly cheerful ice cream lady. The sweet aromas of waffle cones and fresh fruit masking a growing sense of desperation and anger that would soon erupt with horrific consequences. This vibrant, bustling ice cream parlor, a place of innocent pleasure, was unknowingly destined to become the backdrop for two unspeakable acts, forever tainting its cheerful image with a chilling shadow. Before the darkness fully consumed her, Estibaliz Carranza's life was already a complex web of ambition and turbulent romance. Her first significant relationship in Vienna was with Holger Holtz, a German national. They met, fell in love, and eventually married. On the surface, their union seemed promising, a partnership between two individuals navigating life in a foreign city. Esti poured her energy into establishing Schleckeria, and Holger was initially supportive, even helping her get the business off the ground. But as is often the case, the initial honeymoon period faded, and the true dynamics of their relationship began to emerge, revealing deep-seated incompatibilities and simmering resentments. According to Esti's later testimony and accounts from those who knew them, their marriage quickly deteriorated. She described Holger as a man who was lazy and unsupportive, someone who, despite her efforts to build a life and a business, preferred to play video games and rely on her for financial stability. She claimed he was emotionally abusive, constantly belittling her and making her feel inadequate. While we only have Esti's perspective on much of this, it's clear that their relationship was fraught with conflict. Arguments became frequent and intense, often centered around money, Holger's perceived lack of contribution, and Esti's growing frustration with what she felt was an imbalance in their partnership. She portrayed herself as the hard-working provider, while he was the demanding, unappreciative spouse. This narrative, whether fully accurate or colored by her own distorted perceptions, formed the bedrock of her deep-seated anger. The dreams of a happy, stable marriage dissolved into a daily struggle for control and respect. Esti felt trapped, seeing no easy way out. Divorce proceedings were initiated, but even that process was, by all accounts, acrimonious and drawn out. Holger reportedly refused to move out of their shared apartment, which was located directly above the ice cream parlor, adding an unbearable layer of stress to Esti's already burdened life. Imagine waking up every day knowing that the source of your profound unhappiness is just a floor above you, while simultaneously having to put on a cheerful face for customers downstairs. This constant proximity to her estranged husband, whom she now despised, created an inescapable pressure cooker environment. The sweet scents of vanilla and chocolate emanating from her shop were a stark contrast to the bitter reality unfolding upstairs. The first cracks in Esti's facade were not visible to the public, but internally, the psychological damage was becoming severe, paving the way for the unthinkable.
The relentless strain of her crumbling marriage and the perceived emotional abuse reached a breaking point for Estibaliz Carranza. The constant presence of Holger Holtz and the apartment directly above her beloved ice cream shop became an intolerable burden. She saw him not just as an estranged husband, but as an obstacle to her happiness, her financial stability, and her very sanity. The legal process of divorce was moving too slowly, and his refusal to leave their shared home felt like a deliberate act of torment. On April 27, 2008, the simmering resentment within Esti finally boiled over. According to her later confession, the day started with yet another heated argument. The specifics of the quarrel are unclear, but the underlying tension was undoubtedly about their separation and Holger's persistent refusal to vacate the premises. In a moment that she described as an explosion of rage and desperation, Esti retrieved a .22 caliber pistol she had purchased legally a few months prior, ostensibly for self-defense, a claim that would later be scrutinized. As Holger sat at his computer, oblivious to the monstrous decision his wife had just made, Esti approached him from behind. With chilling resolve, she fired 2 shots into the back of his head. He died instantly. The immediate aftermath was a gruesome and terrifying reality. The silence that followed the gunshots must have been deafening. The man who had been her husband and then her tormentor lay dead. But for Esti, this was not the end of her ordeal. It was merely the beginning of an even darker chapter. She had crossed an irreversible line and now faced the horrifying task of concealing her crime. Her carefully constructed life was now balanced precariously on a precipice, demanding an unprecedented level of cold calculation. With Holger Holtz's body lying lifeless in the apartment above her ice cream shop, Estibaliz Carranza was faced with a stark and terrifying reality. The initial act of violence had been impulsive, fueled by rage, but what followed was a meticulous, cold-blooded effort to erase her crime. Panic must have set in, but it was quickly superseded by a chilling pragmatism. Esti knew she couldn't simply leave the body where it was. The apartment was above a public business. Discovery was inevitable. Her solution was one of macabre efficiency. Her first task was to move the body. She wrapped Holger's remains in a carpet, a heavy and difficult undertaking for one person. Her plan was already forming: the basement of Schleckeria. This subterranean space, usually used for storage of ice cream ingredients and equipment, offered the perfect secluded spot for her horrific secret.
It was out of sight, out of mind, and she had full access and control. Once the body was in the basement, the true horror of her methodical cover-up began. To ensure the body would never be identified, Esti acquired a chainsaw. With a chilling resolve, she dismembered Holger's body. This act, perhaps the most disturbing aspect of her crime, points to an incredible capacity for detachment and a ruthless determination to avoid detection. After dismembering the body, she placed the remains into several plastic containers. To further ensure decomposition and to mask any scent, she filled these containers with concrete. This was not the work of an amateur guide. It was a calculated, deliberate effort to destroy all evidence. The gruesome task took her several days, all while she continued to operate her ice cream parlor upstairs, serving customers with a seemingly normal smile. The stench of death, chemical solvents, and fresh concrete would have been profound, and yet she managed to conceal it, perhaps with the strong aromas of her sweet business acting as an unlikely, grotesque smokescreen.
With Holger Holtz's remains encased in concrete and buried beneath her ice cream parlor, Estibaliz Carranza attempted to resume a semblance of normal life. The immediate threat of discovery had been mitigated, and a profound weight, whether of guilt or simply the practical burden of concealment, had been temporarily lifted. She spun a convincing tale to explain Holger's disappearance. He had simply vanished, leaving her. Given their contentious separation, many found this plausible. Life, for a time, appeared to be getting back on track for Esti. She immersed herself in her business, and Schleckeria continued to thrive. More significantly, she entered into a new romantic relationship with Manfred Hinterberger. Manfred was an unassuming ice cream machine salesman, a stark contrast to the volatile Holger. He seemed to offer her the stability and affection she craved. They fell deeply in love, moved in together, and Esti even became pregnant with his child. For all intents and purposes, it looked like Esti had genuinely found happiness and was building a new, positive future. The image she projected was one of a successful businesswoman and a loving partner, excitedly anticipating motherhood. However, the past has a way of catching up, and dark secrets rarely stay buried forever, especially when they are literally underneath your feet. The psychological burden of her crime, though suppressed, was always present. Furthermore, her relationship with Manfred, despite its initial promise, began to show cracks similar to those that had appeared with Holger. Esti, perhaps due to her own deep-seated personality disorders, started to perceive Manfred in much the same way she had come to view her first husband. She felt he was becoming demanding, unsupportive, and too critical of her. The pressure of her burgeoning pregnancy, coupled with the resurfacing of old relationship anxieties, began to stir the dangerous impulses she had suppressed. The cellar, for so long a tomb for her first victim, unknowingly awaited its second inhabitant, as the cycle of violence threatened to repeat itself with terrifying predictability.
Despite the hope for a fresh start with Manfred Hinterberger, the demons that haunted Estibaliz Carranza proved too powerful. Her new relationship, which had once seemed so promising, began to mirror the destructive patterns of her first marriage. Esti, now pregnant with Manfred's child, started to feel the familiar pangs of frustration and resentment. She accused Manfred of being controlling, jealous, and excessively critical, particularly concerning her business and finances. The pressures of impending motherhood, coupled with her perception of history repeating itself, pushed her to the brink once more. The arguments between them escalated, becoming increasingly bitter and frequent. Esti later claimed that Manfred would question her loyalty, demanding too much of her time and attention, and that he was generally unsupportive of her aspirations. The sense of feeling trapped and misunderstood, The same emotions that had propelled her to murder Holger began to consume her again. The presence of her first victim, still entombed beneath her establishment, undoubtedly added a layer of psychological complexity to her deteriorating state. The very ground she walked on held a grim secret, a constant, silent reminder of her capacity for violence. On November 1, 2010, just 2 years after Holger's murder, the tragic cycle completed itself. During another furious argument, Esti again reached for her .22 caliber pistol. With the chilling precision that had marked her first crime, she shot Manfred Hinterberger. Like Holger, he was struck in the back of the head and died instantly. The act was swift, brutal, and tragically familiar. The very same ice cream parlor, which had witnessed her first unspeakable act, now bore witness to another. The sweet facade of Schleckeria once again concealed a horrifying truth, plunging deeper into the abyss of its owner's dark deeds. The reality of 2 bodies buried beneath a business serving joy was almost unfathomable.
For months after Manfred Hinterberger's murder, Estibaliz Carranza continued to live a double life, maintaining her composure and her thriving ice cream business. She had, for the second time, meticulously covered her tracks, dismembering Manfred's body with the same chainsaw and encasing his remains in concrete in the basement, right alongside Holger's. The sheer audacity and cold calculation involved in committing a second murder and concealment, especially while pregnant, is a testament to the profound psychological issues at play. She offered a new explanation for Manfred's disappearance. He had abandoned her and their unborn child. Again, for a time, this narrative held sway. However, the weight of 2 secrets, literally buried beneath her feet, was destined to be unearthed. Fate intervened on June 6, 2011, almost 3 years after Holger's murder and 7 months after Manfred's. During routine maintenance work in the cellar of Schleckeria, plumbers discovered something utterly horrific. While drilling through a concrete floor to install a new pipe, their tools struck human remains. The discovery instantly transformed the charming ice cream parlor into a gruesome crime scene. Police were immediately called, and forensic teams descended upon the premises. The investigation quickly confirmed the worst. Not 1, but 2 sets of human remains were found, meticulously encased in concrete. The horror of the discovery sent shockwaves through Vienna and beyond. As the bodies were identified as Holger Holtz and Manfred Hinterberger, the focus of the investigation inevitably turned to the one person who connected both victims and the ice cream shop, Estibaliz Carranza. Realizing her carefully constructed facade had crumbled, Esti fled. She first went to Italy, attempting to escape the tightening net of justice. However, her flight was short-lived. Just days after the gruesome discovery, Estibaliz Carranza was apprehended in Udine, Italy. Her arrest marked the end of her freedom and the beginning of a chilling public unraveling of her monstrous secrets. The ice cream killer was about to face justice.
The arrest of Estibaliz Carranza sent shockwaves around the world. The image of the charming ice cream lady contrasted starkly with the horrifying reality of the 2 bodies found beneath her shop. Extradited back to Austria, Esti was quickly brought to trial. The proceedings captivated public attention as details of her cold-blooded crimes emerged, painting a picture of a calculated killer. During her trial, Esti confessed to both murders, providing a chilling account of her actions. She claimed she acted out of desperation, driven by what she described as emotional abuse and a profound sense of being trapped by both Holger and Manfred.
Her defense focused on her mental state, arguing that she was suffering from severe psychological distress. Psychiatric evaluations played a crucial role in her trial. Experts testified that Estibaliz Carranza suffered from a severe personality disorder, characterized by a narcissistic personality and traits of psychopathy. They concluded that, while she was aware of her actions, her capacity for empathy was severely impaired, leading to her brutal responses to perceived threats or frustrations in her relationships. The court ultimately found her guilty of both murders. However, due to the psychiatric findings, she was not sentenced to a conventional prison term. Instead, in 2012, Estibaliz Carranza was sentenced to life imprisonment in a special facility for mentally abnormal offenders. This type of sentence ensures that she receives ongoing psychiatric treatment while remaining securely incarcerated, deemed a danger to society. The ice cream killer case left a lasting, unsettling legacy. It shattered the perception of a seemingly innocuous business and exposed the dark underbelly of human psychology. Schlickeria, once a symbol of sweet indulgence, became synonymous with unimaginable horror and was eventually closed down. Estibaliz Carranza gave birth to her son, Roland, while awaiting trial. He was subsequently placed with his paternal grandparents, shielded from the gruesome legacy of his mother. The story serves as a grim reminder that appearances can be deceiving, and that even in the most ordinary of settings, extraordinary darkness can reside. The chilling tale of the ice cream tiller continues to be a subject of fascination and a cautionary tale in true crime history.
If you dare to delve deeper into the chilling tales of the unknown, like and subscribe to my channel. Don't miss out on more bone-chilling stories that will make your blood run cold. And if you're feeling brave, leave a comment below and tell me what you thought of the ice cream killer.